Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. We are back in a set 20 Power Absorb reveals. Yesterday we went over the Super 17 cards coming out, and I was rather impressed by that deck, but today we have a whole different beast. Today we are talking about the SS4 Goku deck coming out in set 20, and this deck has been getting memed to absolute hell. So first things first, drop a comment down below. Do you think this archetype is an absolute meme? Do you think there's any merit to it at all? I want to know what you guys think about this, because I just did a reread of the cards, and there's some that I like and some that are obviously terrible, but maybe not the ones you think. So we'll go over that in today's video. We'll see if there's any merit at all to these cards. If you're new, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video, and let's just jump right on in, starting with the leader. So we have Goku. When this card's placed in your leader area, send one Android 20 Vengeful Alliance and Dr. Mew Vengeful Alliance from your deck to your warp. This is actually super interesting. This is the first time I think we've ever seen a leader that starts with two cards pulled directly out of the main deck. You put those things in your warp and you're actually at a 48 card main deck if you built a pure 50. And from a deck building perspective, that's technically like the most consistent deck in the game. If you think about it, that's pretty cool. Plus there are actually a lot of other effects in this whole engine that filter through your deck even more. So that's actually a really big upside for this, I can't lie. But anyways, auto and card attacks, look at top 5, add a green sand among them to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. No energy cost restriction. So firstly, this is searching your super combos. Secondly, if you choose to play a green sand SCR, like maybe Primal Carnage or something, this can search for that. That is pretty cool. And then awaken release of 4 or less, or when you have 2 or more energy, while there are 2 or more Goku GT cards in your warp, draw 1 card, untap an energy, and take life down to 6. Then we have Goku betting it all. Auto once per turn when a pan card or a card with GT in its character name, both green and without Goku GT, is placed from your battle area in your drop, add it to your Z energy from your drop. Another way of making Z energy without straight up comboing minus cards from your hand. That's pretty decent. Auto once card attacks, draw 1. Auto at the end of your turn, choose one of your green Android 18Z battle cards and switch it to active mode. Then we have Goku Full Strength Kamehameha, which is our Z leader. We have a 1 Z energy cost and 1 green cost when you have 4 or less. Auto, discard a green card from your hand. When this card attacks, draw 2. Again, solid deck filtering. Auto once per turn. If it's your turn, when your opponent uses a card in a combo, place up to 1 card from your opponent's combo area in the owner's drop. Okay, we've seen effects like this be pretty solid in green. Like the main example that comes to my mind is the green Bardock Unison. We all know that effect is very, very strong. The way this auto is worded, though, I don't believe this version of it is optional at all, because it's an auto once per turn. So that means as soon as it procs, you have to basically use it or lose it. So your opponent can technically play around this by like comboing a 5k and then having their super combo be their second combo so that you can't knock out their super combo. That is one downside to this, but at the end of the day, it's still a good effect, because it's basically saying every single turn you're making your opponent basically pitch a card if you ever make them have to combo. So that's not bad, but again, it would have been a little bit nicer if it was more optional. Then we have activate main once per turn. Switch one of your Android 18Z battle cards to rest mode. Choose all your opponent's battle cards with blocker, ignoring barrier, KO them, and this card gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. So this is one of the really funny memes where there's a card from like set 2, I think it's called Full Power Trunks. It's a 4-drop triple striker, and I think it's like 20k. When you play it in permanent, all your opponent's cards gain barrier. So you can technically play that with this leader and then wipe your opponent's entire board. That's pretty hilarious, but obviously that's not going to be actually good. So yeah, this is memed because it only kills blockers. Like, why does it only kill blockers? I really couldn't tell you. It does kill things like Another World Blitz in blue, which is not bad. I can't really think of another example of a barrier blocker. I know they exist, but more niche examples would have to be brought up here. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not amazing. I mean, if you're trying to go for game or trying to push damage on a unison or a leader, getting blockers out of the way is not the worst thing. But obviously, yes, it could definitely be better. But yeah, I don't know. The regular leader, I kind of like. The Z leader is questionable. But again, like the filtering of discard 1, draw 2, and then basically making your opponent discard a combo every single turn, that is definitely not too bad. All right, so we have Android 20 and Dr. Mew, both of our cards that start in our warp. I'm just going to read the Goku halves of these effects because these cards are meant to be played in both this deck and the Super 17 deck. All right, so for Android 20, if your leader is a green Goku GT card and Dr. Mew is in your warp, and you send one green Goku GT from your hand to your warp at the start of your main phase, draw one. So again, just for having this thing in your warp, you're getting even more filter. So you basically start with a 47 card deck, which is actually, again, pretty insane. Like, that's a really consistent deck from the get-go, and then you combine other effects in there, like super combos, your Z leader, just drawing and drawing and drawing. That is kind of cool. Then we go to Dr. Mew, though. We have permanents. If your leader is a green Goku GT card and this card's in your warp, you can't play non-green battle cards. That, unfortunately, is only really a downside. No overwhelming in this deck. No Smoke Dragon in this deck. That's actually a really big downside. Although I will say Smoke Dragon is not super necessary in this deck, because this deck actually has the best unison removal in the game. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But yeah, I do like the ultra consistency this stuff offers. All right, we have a few Goku cards here. We have Goku and Android 18 Vital Teamwork. This is another card that's been getting memed like crazy. This is a 6-drop 20k dual attacker. If your leader's a green Goku GT card, when this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost less than or equal to a number of mono green Saiyans in your drop and KO it. Why doesn't it just KO anything in the game? I really could not tell you. This is just a super needless stipulation, but that's not even really the important part of the effect. The important part is auto limit 1. When this card attacks, your opponent chooses one of their unisons with a specified cost of 3 or less and place it in the owner's drop. If they don't, they discard a card from their hand. So yeah, like I said, best just straight up spot removal for unisons in the game. Forget the typical green effects of having to actually remove markers, even though like Piccolo Fate Arrival and Gohan Latent Power Unleashed both remove a lot of markers at once. This card just says, nope, 3 or less, kill it. Like, a lot of people are playing 3 cost unisons right now because it plays around Smoke Dragon. It does not play around this card. That's really, really strong, I do have to say. And then we have active main limit 1 for 2 green. If you have 3 or more energy and a green Z battle card in play this card from your hand. So that's somewhat on par with Piccolo the Infiltrator. Obviously this one has a turn restriction and a Z battle card necessity, but still 2 energy 20k dual attack is on par for that type of cost. Then we have Goku to Hell and Back, 3-drop 15k permanents. While you have an Android 18 in play, this card gains critical. And then activate main limit 1 if you have 3 or more energy and there are 3 or more pan cards and or cards with GT in their character name, all green and without Goku GT in your Z energy, battle area, and or drop, play this card from your warp. The Stygian Journey has the same playing effect, so I won't reread that. But yeah, so you can basically play this for 1 if you have those requirements. And then activate battle limit 1 if your leader is a green Goku GT card and one of your green Android 18 Z battle cards is in a battle, use this card from your warp in a combo. Okay, this card, super good. You can play it from your warp, you can combo it from your warp. This is basically treating your warp as an extension of your hand, much like the Z deck is also an extension of your hand. You can't just readily like combo those cards from your Z deck typically, but this card you can combo with, which is really solid. Yeah, this is a really strong card. I do like this quite a bit, and I guess this is why they're trying to balance the deck by not allowing you to play black cards, so that for 1 you can't just constantly get Goku's back into your warp, but for 2 I guess maybe they deem this to be pretty strong, because again, like playing cards from areas that are not your hand is a really good way to conserve your hand size, and that is usually pretty strong. It's kind of like the red Spaceship GT deck as well, where you can play cards from under your spaceship, meaning you're conserving cards in your hand. That is pretty solid. All right, then we have SS4 Goku Stygian Journey, 4-drop 15k permanents. While you have an Android 18 card in play, this card gets plus 5,000 power. Auto this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it, and then it has the same playing requirements of Goku Hell and Back. So yeah, these cards are solid. Being played from the warp, really good. Good, solid, efficient, cheap pressure. I do have to say I like these 3 cards quite a bit. All right, then we have the Z battle cards for the deck. We have Goku Golden Dragon Fist. We have a 4-drop 2 Z energy cost permanents. While there are 3 or more pan cards and or cards with GT in their character name, both green without Goku GT in your Z energy, battle area, and drop, this card gains double strike and dual attack. That should be live like almost all the time, so I don't think that's too bad of a cost. When this card's played, KO an opponent's battle card, and then activate main limit 1 for 2 if your leader is a green Goku GT Z leader. You have 4 or more energy, and you choose one of your green Goku GT cards with energy cost of 3 or more. Play this card from under an Android 18 card on top of the chosen card in active mode. So you can swing out with any of the Gokus that we saw before, and then play this thing on top of it in active mode from underneath Android 18 Wrathful Strike, which is a 1-drop 2 Z energy cost 4k battle card, unique, barrier, Z stack 1, green Goku GT. So this card goes right underneath Android 18. And then permanent during your turn while there are 2 or more green Goku GT cards in your warp. This card gets plus 6,000 power. Not really a big deal at all. But you are basically getting the Goku underneath the Android 18, which is meant to like sort of cheat cost, but not really, because you're paying 1 for Android 18, then you're paying 1 for whatever Goku you played out of your warp, and then you're paying 2 for Golden Dragon Fist. So at the end of that, it still ends up costing 4 energy, but the upside is you can kind of space out that 4 energy. Like, for example, you can play Android 18 Wrathful Strike on like turn 2 if you're able to, and it should just sit there with barrier. Of course, like, we have more barrier removal now than ever before, so in some matchups it may not be the safest thing to just do that, but you can in some scenarios. You play out Wrathful Strike, she sits there for a while, and then on like a turn 4 you're able to play out a Goku and then put Golden Dragon Fist on top of it. And even better, if you have like a Goku that survived from turn 3, which is not super likely but possible, you have that, then this costs you only 2 energy, which like the best case scenario. But again, I don't think that's going to be super often. So yeah, you're basically cheating out all these different cards in order to get maximum attacks, and they're like, okay, I would say somewhat average, not like super over the top amazing or anything. All right, then we have a bunch of different sand cards for this deck. So they all have the same permanent that I'll only read once. We have permanent: if your leader is a green Goku GT card and a green Goku GT cards in your warp, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. Now we'll start with Goten. We have auto limit 1. When this card's played, draw 1, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 1 and KO it. So a good cantrip, kills a 1-drop. Actually not too bad against the Crimson matchup. That's okay. And then auto limit 1. If your leader's a green Goku GT card, when you add this card from your Z to your Z energy, draw 1 card and discard a card. Just not bad in general. Just getting a little bit more deck filter there. Then we have Gohan, Spirit of Resistance. We have counterplay for a green. Play this card, and if the battle card being played is energy cost of 4 or less, place it in the owner's drop instead. Now keep in mind, you still have to pay this card's original cost, but he gets his cost reduced by 1 for having the Goku GT in your warp. So this costs 1 regular energy, and then the skill costs 1 energy, so you're paying 2 for this. Now there are a lot of cards in green that counterplay a 4 or less for 2 energy. That's not like super revolutionary or anything, but this card has a lot of upside compared to those cards, because this card has combo power, and when it's played, you draw a card and remove a marker from a unison. So there is actually quite a bit of upside to this card compared to other cards like it. Then we have Vegeta, Spirit of Resistance. 3-drop 20k. Same permanent to reduce its cost by 1. So this will cost 2 energy. Auto limit 1. When this card attacks, draw a card, discard a card from your hand, and choose one of your opponent's battle cards under a cost of 4 or less and KO it. Not too bad if you need to get something off the board that costs 4 or less. But the probably better effect is auto for a green. If your leader's a green Goku GT card, when this card's using the combo, choose one of your green sand cards and gains double strike for the battle. One of the Gokus that can be played from your warp actually gains critical, so in tandem with this thing, double strike crit, not too bad. Again, I do very much like, just like how in Super 17 you have an in archetype searchable double strike Champa. This one doesn't grant a total of 10k power, which is sort of a downside, but again, being searchable, being on color, that is pretty decent. And then we have the last page here. We have Trunks, Spirit of Resistance. 2-drop 10k, same permanent to reduce its cost, and another permanent. While you have 4 more energy, this card gains blocker. That is kind of a steep energy restriction. That's kind of weird. Auto limit 1. This card's played, draw 1. So again, just a cantrip. And then Android 18, for the sake of family, 1-drop. When this card's played, they go top 5. Add up to 1 green sand with energy cost of 4 or less. Someone lets your hand, and then shuffle your deck. And then auto limit 1. If your leader's a green Goku GT Z leader, when this card's using a combo, it gets plus 1k combo power for the battle. And we do pretty much know that that is just as good as a 10k combo on defense. So again, not a bad thing at all. Now this card's really crazy. Goku's Kamehameha Deflection. 1-drop counter attack, limit 1. Negate the attack and choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy costs of 4 or less and KO it. This is not restricted to any type of leader, any type of archetype. This thing just kills a 4 or less for 1. This is like Shocking Death Ball, but on crack. And imagine your opponent swinging with like a Piccolo the Infiltrator and then just popping it, or swinging with any of the Arrival type cards in the SS4 Gogeta deck and just popping them. That is a really, really good card that is playable in any deck. This is going to pair super nicely with Dormant Potential. And you might not even play Dormant in this deck, but this being the second negate of the turn, just popping anything, cost 4 or less, that's really good. And then it has another upside permanent. If your leader is a green Goku GT Z leader, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost by pitching another card from your hand instead. So yeah, overall, that card seems really good. But all in all, guys, like this archetype, I don't think it's as impressive as Super 17. I could be wrong there. There are some cards that are definitely deserving of the memes. Like, again, why does the 6-drop not just KO anything? It should actually KO something ignoring barrier, probably, for being a super rare, but that's neither here nor there. The Z Leader, kind of memeable, but a lot of other cards in this deck I do quite like. Again, I really like the fact that you're starting off with just like the most consistent deck in the game just by putting your leader down. That's kind of cool. But anyways, guys, I do want in the comments below what you guys think about this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.